The betrayal began on an ordinary afternoon, the kind that never warns you before it changes your life. Elias came home earlier than planned, his mind already drifting toward the quiet comfort of his house. The sun was still high, the street calm, the familiar sounds of neighbors going about their routines. Nothing felt wrong until he turned the key and stepped inside. The first thing he noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but a hollow one, as if the house was holding its breath. Then he heard footsteps that were not his own. Voices followed. Strangers' voices. Elias moved slowly toward the living room, confusion tightening his chest. Men stood near the couch, lifting boxes, his books, framed photos, his life. For a moment, he thought he had entered the wrong house. Then he saw Lena. She stood near the hallway, her face pale, her hands locked together so tightly her knuckles were white. She did not look surprised to see him. That was the moment Elias understood that this was not a mistake. She spoke before he could. Her voice was calm, like someone reading lines they had memorized. She said she was leaving. She said it had been a long time coming. She said she needed a different life. Each sentence landed hard, one after another, giving him no space to breathe. Elias asked why. He asked what he had done wrong. He asked when this had started. Lena listened, but her eyes kept drifting away, as if she were already somewhere else. She did not answer most of his questions. She only said she was sorry and that she hoped one day he would understand. Then she said something that cut deeper than anything else. She said someone had helped her see the truth. She did not say Marcus's name. She did not need to. Marcus lived next door. He had been part of their lives for years. He had shared meals with them, laughed with them, watched their home when they traveled. Elias had trusted him without hesitation. He had trusted him because Marcus always seemed solid, dependable, harmless. Now, that trust shattered in an instant. The movers avoided Elias's eyes as they carried boxes out. Lena walked past him without touching him. The door closed behind her, and with it the life Elias thought he knew. The days that followed blurred together. Elias went to work on autopilot, spoke to people without hearing himself, ate without tasting anything. At night he lay awake, replaying every conversation, every moment that now felt suspicious. He remembered Marcus leaning against the fence, talking late into the evening. He remembered how Lena had smiled during those talks, how she had grown distant afterward. The truth settled in slowly, like something heavy pressing on his chest. The divorce papers arrived sooner than Elias expected. They were clean, precise, and ruthless. Marcus had helped Lena prepare them. Elias learned this from a mutual friend who spoke carefully, as if afraid Elias might break. Marcus had recommended lawyers. He had helped Lena plan her exit. He had done all of this while greeting Elias every morning with a friendly nod. The court proceedings were brief and cold. Elias lost the house. He lost savings he had spent years building. He lost more than money. He lost his sense of safety. The neighborhood that once felt familiar now felt hostile, filled with eyes that watched quietly but never intervened. Marcus remained next door. Every time Elias saw him, something twisted inside. Marcus looked the same as always, well-dressed, confident, unbothered. He acted as though nothing had changed. Sometimes he waved, sometimes he smiled. Elias never returned the gesture. Weeks passed. Elias packed what little he was allowed to keep. He moved into a smaller place across town. It felt temporary, like a waiting room for a life he did not recognize yet. He told himself he would heal with time, that anger would fade. But anger did not fade. It grew sharper. One evening, 3 months after Lena left, Elias returned home to find an envelope slipped under his door. The handwriting stopped him cold. He recognized it instantly. Marcus. Elias stood there for a long time, staring at the envelope as if it might explode. Finally, he picked it up and opened it. The letter was short, polite, controlled. Marcus wrote that he wanted to talk, that there was no reason for things to remain tense. He mentioned an opportunity, something that could benefit them both. He ended by saying he hoped Elias was doing well. Elias laughed out loud. This sound surprised him. It was sharp and bitter, echoing off the walls of his small apartment. Benefit, opportunity. Marcus had taken everything and still believed he could offer something worth accepting. That night, Elias did not sleep. He sat in the dark replaying the letter again and again. Beneath the anger, a clear thought formed. Marcus believed he had won. He believed the damage was done and that Elias would simply move on, broken and quiet. Elias realized something else too. Marcus had underestimated him. As the hours passed, Elias began to think differently. He thought about Marcus's business, about the systems he used, the shortcuts he took. Elias had seen pieces of it over the years. Marcus had trusted him once. He had spoken freely, bragged carelessly. An idea began to take shape. It was not loud or reckless, was careful, controlled. It promised balance. It promised to make Marcus feel the same loss Elias had felt by morning. Elias had already decided he would meet Marcus. The meeting took place in Marcus's house, the same house Elias had visited countless times before. Everything looked unchanged. Clean, orderly, perfect. Marcus greeted him warmly, as if they were old friends catching up after time apart. They sat in the living room. Marcus spoke first, said he regretted how things had turned out. He said no one had meant for Elias to get hurt. He said life was complicated and people followed their hearts. Elias listened silently. Then Marcus made the offer, a business partnership, a chance for Elias to recover financially, a way forward. Marcus spoke confidently, explaining how it would work, how profitable it could be. He spoke as if the past no longer mattered. Elias watched him closely. Marcus did not look guilty. He looked justified. That realization fueled something dangerous inside Elias. He agreed to think about the offer. Marcus seemed relieved. He believed. This conversation had gone exactly as planned. As Elias left the house, the night air felt heavy. His hands shook slightly, but his mind was clear. He understood now that Marcus did not see himself as a villain. In Marcus's mind, he had simply taken what he wanted. Elias walked home knowing that this was only the beginning. Elias did not answer Marcus right away. He let the offer sit like an open wound that refused to close. Days passed, then a week. During that time, Elias moved through life with a sharp focus he had never known before. Every sound felt louder. Every thought felt heavier. The anger that once burned wildly now settled into something colder and more controlled. At work, Elias watched people carefully. He noticed how easily trust was given, how casually it was used. That realization made him think of Marcus again. Marcus had always known how to earn confidence. He listened well. He remembered small details. He made people feel seen. Elias understood now that none of it was accidental. At night, Elias researched. He reviewed old conversations, old favors, old numbers Marcus had once mentioned, without concern. Elias had worked in systems long enough to recognize weak points. He saw how easily one small shift could cause a chain reaction. Nothing illegal, nothing loud. It's just exposure, timing, and truth placed in the right hands. The plan formed quickly, but it did not feel rushed. Each step felt natural, like following a road that had always been there. Elias told himself he was only preparing. He had not committed to anything yet. Still, his heart beat faster each time he imagined Marcus realizing what was happening. Marcus called twice. Elias ignored the first call. On the second, he answered. Marcus sounded pleased. He spoke as if time had already softened everything. He asked how Elias was doing. He said he hoped they could move forward like adults. Elias responded calmly, keeping his voice steady. He said he was considering the offer and wanted to understand more. Marcus invited him to his office. The office sat on the top floor of a modern building downtown. Glass walls, clean lines, the kind of place that suggested success before a word was spoken. Elias arrived early and watched Marcus through the glass, speaking confidently to his staff. He noticed how people leaned in when Marcus talked, how they nodded, how they trusted. When Marcus welcomed Elias inside, he spoke with warmth and ease. He laid out charts and projections, painting a picture of growth and stability. He explained how Elias's skills would fit perfectly. He spoke of fresh starts and new chapters. Elias listened, asking careful questions. Each answer Marcus gave revealed more than he intended. Elias stored everything away. As the meeting ended, Marcus smiled. He believed he was fixing a loose end. He believed Elias was grateful. Elias left with a copy of the documents and a clear understanding of just how much damage he could do. That night, Elias stood at his apartment window, watching the city lights flicker. He imagined the future in two paths. In one, Marcus fell. His reputation cracked. His business collapsed slowly as trust drained away. Elias imagined the satisfaction of knowing he had balanced the scales. In the other path, Elias walked away. He rebuilt alone. He carried the pain but left the past untouched. The second path felt harder. Memories surfaced without warning. Moments with Lena before everything changed. Quiet mornings, shared plans. Elias realized that his anger toward Marcus was tangled with grief. Revenge felt like a way to give that pain a shape, something he could aim and control. The next morning, Elias began making quiet moves. He reached out to old contacts. He asked neutral questions. He listened more than he spoke. People talked easily when they believed they were safe. Small concerns surfaced. Minor complaints. Nothing serious on its own. Together, they formed a pattern. Marcus continued checking in. He sent messages that sounded supportive but carried an edge of impatience. He wanted the deal closed. Elias sensed Marcus believed time would erase guilt, that generosity would erase betrayal. Each interaction sharpened Elias's resolve. At the same time, something inside him resisted. A voice asked whether this would truly bring peace or simply keep the wound open. One evening, Elias ran into Lena unexpectedly at a grocery store. The moment froze him. She looked thinner, tired, older somehow. They stood facing each other in silence before she spoke his name. She asked how he was. He answered honestly. He asked the same. She said she was trying to be happy. They did not mention Marcus. They did not mention the past. When they parted, Elias felt emptier than before. The encounter did not fuel his anger, it drained it. That night, Elias questioned himself more deeply than ever. He imagined Marcus losing everything and wondered what would change. Lena would not return. The past would not fix itself. The damage would remain. Still, the desire for revenge did not disappear. It tightened, like a fist refusing to open. The pressure reached a peak when Marcus invited Elias to dinner. This time, Lena was there. The tension was immediate. Marcus acted relaxed, talking about work and plans. Lena stayed quiet, watching Elias carefully. Elias felt like a guest in a life that had replaced his own. During dinner, Marcus spoke openly about their future partnership, spoke as if it were already decided. Elias noticed how Lena flinched slightly, as if uncomfortable with the closeness. After dessert, Marcus stepped away to take a call, leaving Elias and Lena alone. She spoke softly. She said she hoped Elias was not agreeing out of obligation. She said she wanted him to be free. Elias looked at her and realized something painful. She had already made her choice. She was protecting her present, not his past. When Marcus returned, Elias thanked them for dinner and left early. The final pieces of the plan locked into place after that night. Elias scheduled one last meeting with Marcus. He told himself it was to decide. He told himself he needed clarity. The meeting took place in a quiet office with documents laid out neatly. Marcus looked confident, almost relieved. Elias reviewed the papers slowly. He felt the weight of every step that had led him there. Every sleepless night, every bitter thought, every careful move. Marcus spoke again about trust, about partnership, about moving forward. Elias realized then that Marcus truly believed he had done nothing wrong. That belief changed everything. As Elias held the pen, the room felt too still. His heart pounded, not with excitement, but with the strain of choice. One signature would unleash everything he had planned. Another moment of restraint would end it all. He closed his eyes briefly and understood that revenge would not free him. It would bind him to Marcus forever, locking his future to the same man who had taken his past. Elias placed the pen down without signing. He looked at Marcus and spoke calmly, clearly, without anger. He told him he knew everything. He told him the damage was deeper than money. He told him that walking away was the only power left to him. Marcus stared, stunned, his confidence finally cracking. Elias stood and left. As he stepped outside, the air felt lighter. The urge for revenge did not vanish, but it loosened its grip. For the first time since the betrayal, Elias felt something close to control. The conflict was not over, but the choice had been made. Elias did not look back when he left the office. The elevator ride down felt longer than it should have, every second stretching as if testing his resolve. When the doors finally opened, he stepped out into the street, blending into the movement of the city. Cars passed, people hurried by. Life continued, unaware that something heavy had just ended. For the first time in months, Elias felt tired in a different way. Not drained, not angry, but spent, like a storm had finally passed through him instead of circling endlessly. He walked without direction, letting his thoughts catch up to his body. The image of Marcus's face stayed with him. The surprise, the doubt, the crack in his certainty. Elias had expected satisfaction. What he felt instead was quiet. Okay? That night, sleep came easily. No racing thoughts. No replayed arguments, just darkness and rest. The next morning, Elias woke. Early sunlight filled the room, soft and ordinary. He made coffee and stood by the window, watching the city wake up. Nothing had changed on the outside, yet something inside him had shifted. The urge to check his phone, to wait for a message from Marcus, never came. Days passed, then weeks. Marcus did not reach out again. Elias returned fully to his routines. Work demanded focus, and he gave it willingly. He took on new projects, learned new systems, and found satisfaction in progress that belonged only to him. Each completed task reminded him that his worth had never depended on Marcus or Lena or anyone else. Sometimes anger returned without warning. A smell, a song, a street corner could bring it rushing back, but it no longer controlled him. When it came, Elias let it pass, like weather. One evening, he ran into an old friend for dinner. They talked about small things at first, then deeper ones. The friend asked how Elias had survived everything. The last thought before answering. Kay said he stopped trying to win and started trying to live. Saying it out loud made it feel real. News traveled quietly. Elias heard through others that Marcus's business was struggling. Not collapsing, not destroyed, just strained. Trust had thinned. Deals took longer. People asked more questions. Elias knew he could have pushed harder. He could have finished it. Instead, he felt nothing. The absence of satisfaction surprised him, but it also confirmed something important. The revenge he had imagined was never going to heal him. Walking away had done more damage to Marcus than Elias ever could have planned. Marcus had lost control, and control was everything to him. Elias never reached out to Lena again. He saw her once, months later, from across a crowded cafe. She was laughing, but the sound looked forced. Elias watched briefly, then turned away. He did not feel hatred. He felt distance, and distance felt like peace. As time passed, Elias began building a life that did not revolve around loss. He moved to a new apartment, one filled with light. He started running in the mornings, letting the rhythm clear his thoughts. He reconnected with parts of himself he had neglected for years. One afternoon, a message arrived from Marcus. Short, careful. He wrote that he hoped Elias was well, that he regretted how things had turned out, that he wished things had gone differently. Elias read it once, then he deleted it. He understood. Now that Marcus needed closure more than he did. Marcus needed forgiveness to protect his image of himself. Elias did not owe him that. The true turning point came quietly, without drama. Elias was invited to speak at a small industry event. Something he would have avoided before. Standing in front of the room, he spoke with confidence he had not felt in years. He realized that he was no longer introducing himself through what he had lost. He was defined by what he was building. After the event, a stranger approached him, thanking him for his honesty. Elias smiled, feeling grounded in a way he had not known before. Late that night, alone in his apartment, Elias reflected on the path he almost took. He imagined an alternate ending where he had chosen revenge. He saw years spent watching Marcus instead of himself. He saw anger aging him, shaping him into someone smaller. That future felt distant now. Elias accepted that the betrayal would always be part of his story, but it would not be the ending. It would not be the loudest chapter. It would simply be the moment everything changed direction. He understood something deeper, too. Revenge promises power, but it steals freedom. Letting go had cost him pride, but it had given him peace. Later, Elias received news that Marcus and Lena had separated. The information reached him casually, without weight. He felt no joy, no sadness. Just confirmation that unstable foundations eventually crack. Elias closed the chapter completely after that. He stopped thinking about what could have been done and focused on what still could be. On a quiet evening, sitting on his balcony, Elias watched the sun set behind the buildings. The sky shifted colors slowly, patiently. He breathed deeply, feeling present in his own life again. He realized that revenge had not been the test, choice had. And by choosing to walk away, Elias had reclaimed the one thing betrayal could not take from him, his future.